start off by sharing with you the subject matter of the sermon this morning. It's basically extraordinary in the ordinary. At first glance, it might seem a bit vague, but allow me to share a little bit of what it's all about. I think at the core of who we are, there is this desire, a longing to live a purposeful life, to make a difference, to be extraordinary. We don't just want to exist. We don't want to go through the motions. We want our lives to matter and count for something. Sometimes people go through great lengths to feel that or to try to obtain a sense of purpose. However, in the pursuit of extraordinary, whether it's by the great lengths or just simply a desire and longing for it, there is a tendency to actually forget and even miss the fact that extraordinary is right in front of us. There is truly extraordinary in the ordinary. An interesting little fact for you. This was something that I actually was kind of dealing with this last year at work, at the school, as a janitor. I found myself just longing for something greater than sweeping floors and cleaning toilets. I knew that I had capabilities beyond just that, and I longed to be recognized by the school to maybe get a crowd riled up, or maybe entertain people. Those were the things that I was thinking, man, I wish I could just do something more, something different. Have some more significance and input in the school than just making sure things are tidy and etc., etc. But it was in that moment that the Lord kind of spoke to me, and not necessarily reprimanded me, but just reminded me that whatever you do, do it for the glory of the Lord. And work as if unto the Lord, not just unto man. And I was like, you know what, you're right. This can actually be extraordinary, not just ordinary, if what I'm doing is of unto the Lord and for His glory. And that's kind of the secret, if you will. Now, I'm sure more often than not, if I ask you, do you think you're ordinary or extraordinary? Maybe because of our North Dakota culture, you would probably lean a little bit more towards ordinary. But I would venture to say you're more extraordinary than you think and feel. And so to me, this sermon this morning is a little bit of an informal survey of sorts, a census, if you will. My hope, my goal this morning is that you will be encouraged as you realize you're more extraordinary than you think. Or maybe challenged for the sake of there's more improvement. And maybe, just maybe even both. So when it comes to the notion of extraordinary and the ordinary, there's a little bit of a spoiler alert for you. I'm going to just spell it out in a few different ways. To have extraordinary in the ordinary, it's simply be faithful. In fact, faithfulness is everything. How do we be extraordinary in the ordinary? How do we find extraordinary in the ordinary? It's being faithful. And in regards to this extraordinary equals faithfulness subject, I want to check out one of the many parables Jesus shared. We're looking at the parable of the talents that's found in Matthew 25. And just to give a little context to the situation, there's three parables that Jesus shares in chapter 25. The first two are in context to what Jesus said in chapter 24. In chapter 24, verse 42, he says, "Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come." And so he proceeds to tell some parables about that. First is the parable of the 10 virgins. 5 that were wise and brought extra oil because they didn't know when the bridegroom was coming, and 5 that were foolish and didn't bring extra oil, assuming that he's coming sooner than later. And then this parable of the talents in verse 14. So the whole context here is, in fact, therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. At that time the kingdom of heaven will be like a man going out on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his property to them. So there's 3 servants that star in this parable, and they're given different things, different talents, if you will. One's given 5, one's given 2, and one's given 1. And at first glance, it might seem like maybe like talents or abilities, or even money-wise, we might just think of it as $5, $2, and $1. But that is a great injustice to what really took place in the parable. Because back in the day of Jesus' time, a talent of money was worth 6,000 days' wages. That's 16.4 years worth of daily wages. And if you want to modernize it, North Dakota's minimum wage today is $7.25. So if you work 8 hours at $7.25, you'll have $58 before taxes. And then, if you take that by 6,000, you will end up with $348,000. That's what we're dealing with. That's the numbers. But that's just 1 talent. 2 talents is $696,000. 5 talents is $1.7 million. So that's what we have here. So let's just look at the parable, starting with verse 14 of 25. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his property to them. To one he gave 5 talents of money, to another 2 talents, and to another 1 talent, each according to his ability. Then he went on the journey. The man who had received the 5 talents went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 more. So also the one with the 2 talents gained 2 more. But the man who had received the 1 talent went off and dug a hole in the ground and hid his money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled the accounts with them. The man who had received the 5 talents brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 talents. See, I have gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with the 2 talents also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 talents. See, I have gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Then the man who received the 1 talent came and said, Master, I know that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered. So I was afraid and went out and hid your talent in the ground. Here it is, what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant, you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed? Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. Take the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For everyone who has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what he has, will be taken from him. And throw that worthless servant out aside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. That's the parable. And there's a lot of things in there that we could unpack, but only 2 today. Only 2. So the first thing is in verse 15, when he says, each was given a specific amount according to their abilities. Now, as children of God, we can sometimes revert back to some childish behaviors, becoming fixated on what others have that we don't. For example, yesterday, Coop had his birthday party. And at any birthday party, you gather around and watch the kid open their gifts. My siblings and their kids came also, and it was a great time. But during the gift opening, my nephew, who was 5, and obsessed with trains and Thomas the Train, saw that Cooper was getting some Thomas the Train toys. And he was getting mad. He said, no fair! No fair, I want those! And just being a kid, I guess, and seeing what someone else had and what he wanted. And all the while, totally forgetting what he had at home. At home, he had numerous train sets, numerous Thomas stuff, but yet he wanted what was right in front of him. And I think we can also get that way. We can forget what we have at home. Spiritually speaking, our home is in heaven. For anyone that has received Christ as their Savior, their home is in heaven. They go home at the end of their lives. And we can forget the true treasure we have waiting for us as we see maybe what others are being blessed with or what they're getting and that we don't have. And that's just kind of what it happens. We become so focused on what others have that we stop being faithful with what we do have. I once heard it said, don't focus on what you don't have, focus on what you do have. And it might seem trivial, but it's because you can't do anything with what you don't have, but you can do something with what you do have. Not only that, but something else is that someone else's success robs me of nothing. A good example of that is this past spring. I used to pastor down in Wapaton, and the youth pastor posted online about how they had surpassed their 10-year record for giving to missions this last year. And at first I was like, hey, that's great. And then I started thinking, wait a minute. What he's saying was the 10-year record? That wasn't, that's not true, because when I was there 7 years ago, we raised more than that. What are they talking about? I need to refute this evidence. But it was through talking with a former, not a former, but another youth pastor friend that I was kind of able to be talked off the ledge, so to speak. Saying, hey, you know what? Their success that they have in missions giving this year robs me of nothing. And what it does rob me of is nothing I need. I don't need the pride of knowing, actually, I gave more. I was responsible for students giving more than what you just did. That's not something I need. It does me no good to get on there and say, well, technically that's not true. Because both of us were instrumental in raising a great amount of money for missions. It doesn't, what he raised robs me of nothing that I raised 7 years ago. Who cares? Who cares? Apparently I care, but that's beside the point. As you can tell, it's super easy to become fixated on the who got what scenario. And although comparison is natural, by itself it's not a terrible thing. It's just what it leads to can be dangerous. Comparison, if not kept in check, will either breed pride or it will breed envy and jealousy. Pride, because we will perceive ourselves as better than others. Envy and jealousy, because we will perceive others as better than us. Neither are good. And however the Lord chooses to bless people, that's His business. It's up to us to rest in that and be content with how He's chosen to bless and give. When God chooses to bless others, it truly robs us of nothing. God isn't expecting us to be faithful with what He's given to someone else. He's only expecting us to be faithful with what He's given us. Because faithfulness is everything. The second thing I want to address, and really what I feel this parable is about, is the interaction between the servants and their master. What the servants did with their talents and what the master responded with. Again, keep in mind the whole context of this parable is that when Jesus returns unexpectedly, What kind of faithfulness will he find? Let's check out the master's responses. So the first two servants, they were given 5 and 2 respectively, and doubled what they were given. And so spelling it out, they were faithful with what they got. And the masters equally joyed with what they got. He wasn't more joyed over what the 10 talents than he was with the 4 talents. Both had the same response. He says, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You've proven to be faithful in little, now I'll give you more. Come and share in your master's happiness." However, the last servant decided to go a different route. No doubt he saw what the first was given and then the second was given, and no doubt he saw them go at once to do something what they were given. Now this could be reading into a little bit more, but I think it's easy to see maybe what went into the mind of that third servant. Not only did he likely compare himself to what he was given to the other servants, and saw his lowly $348,000 as not that much, it's easy how he might have become envious of what others had, and even envious of the drive and attitude they had towards what they'd been given, according to their abilities. In this passage it says he was afraid, so he sat on it and didn't do anything with it. When someone perceives that what they were given wasn't much, what do? Well, they complain, they sulk, they likely go through every negative emotion on the wheelhouse. And another thing, driven by fear, is that they hold on to what they have for dear life. Maybe thinking, oh man, what if I lose this? I know what I have isn't much, but what if I'm not able to produce a return on it? That to me is worse than having it just sit there. And subsequently, the master has a different response than what he did with the other servants. He didn't say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." He didn't say, "Hey, you were proven faithful with a little, here's some more." And he especially didn't say, "Come and share in your master's happiness." He didn't even say, "Oh, shoot. Well, that's just too bad that you didn't do anything with it." In fact, it was everything opposite of that. He says, "You wicked servant, you say you knew me? Well, then you at least should have put it in the bank so it could have an investment." And then he says, "Come and take this $348,000 and give it to the guy that had $3.4 million. Give it to him instead." And not only that, but throw this worthless, faithless servant out. The third servant's faithlessness is what roused the anger of his master. Point blank, God isn't interested in the comparison between what he's given you and what he's given someone else. He's not interested in how we perceive his blessings between us and others. Whether he's blessed us with a literal or metaphorical equivalent of 1.7 million or 696,000 or 348,000, it doesn't matter to him what the end result is of what he's given us, whether it's doubled or not, as we see in the parable. God's top and really only concern and interest in his blessings to us and others is this: will you be faithful with what you've been given? Because faithfulness is everything. So what has he given you? How have you stewarded that which he's blessed you with? We began this morning with introducing the notion of extraordinary in the ordinary. And we honed in on how faithfulness is everything when it comes to seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary. More than anything, I feel what God has for us is just to simply be faithful. That we move from the ordinary into the extraordinary when we are faithful. Faithfulness isn't always glamorous. It tends to be not so shiny and usually isn't an immediate attraction towards us. And now, as a means of wrapping things up, I'd like to share a few definitions with you. First up, extraordinary, adjective, beyond what is usual, ordinary, regular, or established. Exceptional in character, amount, extent, degree, etc. Noteworthy, remarkable. Ordinary, adjective. Of no special quality or interest, commonplace, unexceptional. Plain or undistinguished. Faithfulness, adjective. Strict or thorough in the performance of duty. True to one's word, promises, vows, etc. Steady in allegiance or affection. Loyal, constant. Everything. Pronoun. Every single thing. Or every particular of an aggregate or total. Something extremely important. To go beyond what is a commonplace or plain and undistinguished, it takes being strict or thorough in a performance of duty. To go farther than what is usual or regular is to be true to one's word, to be exceptional in character, steady in allegiance, loyal and constant. Now, the financial guru Dave Ramsey has a slogan. Stevie, what is the slogan? Well, okay, I'll say it. Debt is normal, be weird. Simply put, don't have debt. Because the culture has normalized have debt. Don't have it. Be weird. Be different. And so in the same vein, faithlessness is ordinary. Be extraordinary. That is, be faithful. Because in God's eyes, faithfulness is something that is extremely important. When we die, it won't be asked of us, well, how much money did you make? How many possessions did you acquire? How many people did you minister to or help find Jesus? The only expectation, the only question to be asked will be, were you faithful? Were you faithful with what you were given? Were you faithful in finances, relationships, material possessions, family matters, and what you were given spiritually? Have you taken the truth of God's word and His salvation that leads through Jesus, and have you applied that to your life? You see, it's the faithfulness that at the end of our lives, that's what will lend us to hear the Savior's words. Well done, good and faithful servant. God has blessed us and given us what He has for us to sit on them and do little or nothing with them. His blessings that He bestows ranges from physical to material, tangible to intangible, health, wealth, family, and time, and every good thing that we have is from the Lord. And He calls us to be faithful with what He's given us. Even if up to this point we haven't been as faithful as we could be, even if we've been more faithless than faithful at times, squandering or sitting on what we've been given, there's hope and there's redemption. The parable of the prodigal son is a good example. So the son demands his inheritance. He goes off and he squanders it. And then when he has nothing left, he thinks, oh, maybe if I just go back to my father's house, I could be at least a servant and have it better off than I do now. But then on his way home, he's unexpectedly welcomed back into his father's hands. And so, as I said earlier, the servant, it was a survey of sorts to see where we personally stand on our level of faithfulness with what we've been given. Encouraged that we're more extraordinary than we realize because of our faithfulness. Challenged because we could be more faithful. We may not have gone to the extreme of squandering off stuff or wasting what we've been given, but perhaps we just haven't been as faithful as we could be. Extraordinary in the ordinary is as simple as being faithful. In our words, letting our yes be yes, our no be no, what we said we do. In our deeds, following through with tasks and whatnot. Because faithfulness is everything.